Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. My name is Joanna and I'm the Family and Community Health County Extension Agent for the County of Hidalgo. Welcome to week number 10 for Step Up, Scale Down. Today is Monday. Don't forget to weigh in yourself. We're hoping that you're meeting your goal by now. We still have 2 more weeks to the program, so you're doing a great job. In this week, we are going to be discussing successful socializing. So here are the objectives. We're going to identify tips to stay on track with healthy eating plans while socializing. We're also going to learn healthy preparation steps for cooking foods. We're going to identify ways to cut fat and sugar from recipes. For your materials, you can utilize the My Personal Plan to Step Up Skill Up to Challenge, handout 10.2 in our website, as well as our optional 5K training plan in our website as well. This is members only. Now we're going to do an icebreaker activity, the physical fitness test. So, can you all do a high stretch from side to side? Okay, you're done with that? Now let's do some arm rolls. Do 10 forward and 10 back. Next, let's do some chair squats. Do 10 of those. Great job. So socializing, what happens when we get together with our friends and families for a social event? You guess it, there's a lot of food, right? Our culture, we love to celebrate with food. We have the desserts. Even when a visitor comes, we always ask, would you like anything to eat or would you like anything to drink? So we tend to have those higher calories as our snacks, as our drinks. And sometimes these foods tend to have high sodium and high sugar. So something that we definitely want to do is clean. First, we would like to clean our workstation. So making sure your workstation is nice and clean and as well sanitized. Then nextly, you want to wash your hands. You can sing the happy birthday song. Make sure the water is warm and you lather your soap. Don't forget just to go above your hands, maybe up to your elbows, to make sure that we don't spread any germs. Next, we want to separate our fruits or vegetables from our meats, whether it be beef or whether it be chicken or turkey or anything like that. Because there tends to be cross-contamination. And basically cross-contamination is when we contaminate or put germs into another, which can get us sick. Next, it's ready to cook. You definitely want to make sure your food is thoroughly cooked. A good way to check for that is by using a thermometer. A good thing about using that is using a food thermometer. And that all depends on what you're cooking. For example, if you're cooking food versus chicken, there's different temperatures. Then, when you are done, you definitely want to make sure you store your items to ensure that there's no bacterial growth in there. We have more information on this in a different video, which I'll provide the link below. Now, cooking methods. So previously we talked about eating your fruits and vegetables, and sometimes we are probably like, blah, vegetables are boring, or I don't like it, Try using different types of cooking methods in any type of food to see if you will enjoy it. I guarantee you different cooking methods can change the flavor of your meal. First, we have the baking. You can bake your fish or you can saute it, you can roast it, but baking is usually referred to cooking such as pies and cookies and these desserts, but you can also go on with your meats such as baking a chicken or baking a salmon. Don't forget that you need to preheat your oven. Preheating your oven is very important. It provides you with the right amount of temperature that you have requested for your meal. Roasting. Now, I love roasting. Roasting is a simple and delicious way to prepare your vegetables. Lightly coat a cup of carrots, potatoes, bell peppers, or any type of vegetables that you like in a small amount of olive oil or even canola spray, and then you'll just stick it into the cooking sheet and basically roast it for 30 to 40 minutes depending on your vegetable. I like to put some pepper in there and some garlic to give it a good flavor. Another cooking method is boiling. As you know, you can boil some of your eggs and get it ready for your snacks. and even prepare for the week on that. Just make sure you store your items correctly. The boiling is basically you're boiling liquid into your meal. So you can boil eggs, you can boil pasta, you can boil potatoes, you can boil chicken. Now blanching. This is when cooking food briefly in hot water. This helps fresh vegetables retain the crunch and even brighten the color. So here's an example of blanching your vegetables. Sometimes when we overcook it, the color tends to get lightened. If you blanch it, this is when it will retain the color. Now steaming. This is when it relies on liquid for cooking, but the liquid never touches the food. Instead, you boil water on a seasoned broth. in a closed pot while the food sits in the steamer basket or rack. So the rack looks like the picture that states there. And it's basically cooking it with the steam. So you can steam this with your fruits and vegetables. Now the other one that I have been into is broiling and grilling. So I've been doing a lot of grilling in the backyard. Lately I've been grilling a lot in the backyard. It's a fun way to grill. The fact that you start your own fire and you heat it and you wait for the fire to be well. But this is some type of grilling. It's definitely a high heat source. Regarding the broiling, it's definitely high too, so be careful with that smoke detector. You definitely want to just do it quickly, or follow directions from your recipe. Will provide a good charcoal flavor in there. Next is sauteing. I like to saute my vegetables. Olive oil with some garlic and some pepper. This is just a great way of how to bring the flavors in. So remember your oils as well. So olive oil is good for regarding low heat. Also your sauteing. Canola is good for high heat as well, such as vegetable oil. So start doing your research on the oils that you use to make your plate a little more healthy. Now this is the least one that I like. It's called microwaving, but this just is a personal choice. This keeps your vegetables crisp and brightens the color when cooking them. To preserve the nutrients and cancer fighting those filed chemicals, use only a spoonful or two of water. Cover it with a damp paper towel and microwave within 1 to 2 minutes. Also make sure your dishware is microwavable safe. Now let's think some smart substitutions. And with that, I always am a believer of cooking your own meals rather than going to purchase your meals in a restaurant. Just because you can always tailor the recipe into a healthier dish. And also you know what's going on in your dish. So first of all, I would like for you all to think whole grain to increase your fiber. So regarding your pasta, regarding your bread, you definitely want to go with a whole grain. And the reason for that is because it has fiber. And we talked about how fiber is really good for your digestive system. Another thing that you want to think about is adding fruits and vegetables into your plate. As you recall, last week we went over a colorful plate. And everything that you're cooking in your plate, you're making it more colorful by adding those fruits and vegetables. And we talked about fresh and frozen and canned fruits and vegetables. Remember, fresh, it's definitely recommended. Yes, so you definitely want to include those fresh items that are in season. Otherwise, if it does cost a little more, you might want to move on to the frozen fruits and vegetables. And lastly, you want to move to the canned. When you're using canned, you may want to rinse those sugars or sodium, but also look for the low sodiums. And very important, by now you should already have a habit of reading your own labels. Think smart substitutions for reducing some fat, sodium, and sugar. So how can we reduce fat? How can we reduce sodium and sugar? We would like to share by cutting sodium by experimenting with herbs, spices, or even citrus zest to your food. So using your herbs, planting your own garden in the back, utilizing cilantro, utilizing rosemary, oregano, putting paprika in there, putting garlic in there. That's just a way to enrichen your foods. And now when we talk about citrus zest, that's when you just use the peel of an orange or a lemon. So one of my favorites is when I do make lemon. For example, I like to put some lemon zest into my chicken. I do like the flavor of the lemon, so you can also just remember, just add that color in there. Adding vinegar and citrus zest is a great way to add flavor without adding salt. Salts, remember that sodium, that can increase some heart diseases. It can increase your blood pressure. So you definitely want to make sure you maintain your salt. We talked about the sodium having less than 2,300 mgs into your diet. Once again, speak with your doctor so that way it can reflect your health. Eating at our favorite restaurants. Sometimes when we do celebrate, we always invite our friends, or before pre-COVID, we would definitely invite our friends to a restaurant. So how do you eat at a restaurant when you are keeping the My Plate with you, when you are making sure that you are having your own calorie intake? We definitely want to eat smaller. Usually in restaurants, they give bigger portions. So something that I like to do is ask for a plate. As soon as I order and the food comes out, I ask them to please bring me a plate and separate half of the meal. Because if I see it, I probably would eat it all. I don't have that control in me, so it's just easier for me to ask the waitress to separate the plate into a to-go box. Another thing that, eating a healthy snack before leaving the house. A hungry stomach can sabotage even the strongest willpower. So restaurants can be busy, and sometimes it takes the waiter or waitress quite a long time to get your order, so you're more likely to get appetizers. But remember, bringing that healthy snacking ahead of time, thinking ahead. So definitely you would like to snack ahead before going to the restaurant. And as well as, remember, when we talked about snacking, we don't overindulge. When arriving to a party, don't rush to the food or appetizer table where many calories awaits you. Sometimes when we're hosting parties, we do have an appetizer table. Or maybe there might be some chips or dips, or maybe not the healthiest appetizer. You may see mozzarella sticks, you might see some cheese sticks, and all of that may have some high salt or even sugar. So, just enjoy the company that you can do. Avoid the appetizer bread baskets. Now, usually at most restaurants, they bring you some bread or even some chips and salsa, and you just tend to keep on eating it. And once the meal comes, well, you're kind of full. So, we think about when we're going to consume an item, we want to make sure that it's healthy, that we do get all the nutrients that we need in a meal versus a bread or chips and salsa. Make only one trip to a buffet line and be selective with your foods. Regarding buffets, it can be tempting to go back and try everything. We tend to avoid the My Plate, but keep an eye on that My Plate. Keep an eye on also the plate, and keep an eye that sometimes we tend to stack foods on top of that plate. So think about the My Plate and think about how much calories you're going to indulge and if there's any type of sodium or sugar in there. Keep your portions small. Try using a salad plate rather than a big dinner plate in a buffet situation. As you recall, most restaurants have a bigger plate. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a smaller plate so that way you won't have that temptation to pile everything into your plate. When eating out, ask for a to-go box immediately and put half of your meal in the box, which I just mentioned a while ago. Better yet, save money and split an entree with your friend or loved one. And that's something that you can do as well. Like I mentioned, when you go to restaurants, they tend to serve big. So definitely, if you share something, it's a little more healthier on that. As you recall, we have our Dinner Tonight website, so you're welcome to go in for some recipes. Thank you once again. My name is Joanne, and I greatly appreciate your support into this program. You're doing a wonderful job. Alright, and then from your homework, try using the techniques you learned to cut fat, sodium, and sugars on your favorite recipes. So for our Facebook challenge, we would like to see some food items on how you cut the fat, sodium, and sugar. Remember, we talked about herbs, we talked about utilizing those spices, or even natural sugars. So take a photo and then you'll be entered into a raffle. Thank you for your time.